Alrighty, alrighty. What's up? What's up? What's going on? Salute to everybody in the building. Thank you so much for pulling up. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. This is the final week before Christmas as we head into the blessed holiday. I want to say a big shout out once again to everybody that comes through. I already see my OG D Free in the chat. Please smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Democracy 101 is trying to grow. We're obviously trying to also grow with the pro democracy movement because we believe in standing up to the authorities that are in power at this point. But I'm gonna welcome my guy AC, my New Yorker,
Yeah, what's good, bro?
Mr. $1 million Indian. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I don't know if you celebrate Christmas, AC, but how's the holidays been for you thus far?
Um, I don't personally celebrate it, but I don't exclude my children from the benefits of celebrating this holiday. So, other than that, you know, what I try to look for is hopefully people going into this season start to realize that, man, listen, we just need to stick together as humans. Fuck all of this division and just deal with each other as humans. And we'll be all right.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. AC, we gonna move into the first topic. Unfortunately, this was not a great day for humans in general. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna say that because I'll just say that there was a tragic terror attack that took place in Sydney, Australia over this weekend. A father and a son. Let me get their pictures up. This is them right here. Two Pakistani nationals. Or excuse me, both of them are named Naveed Akram. Um, Unfortunately, they made the decision to go to a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney that was on the beach. They both had long rifles, and they unalived 15 people. Unfortunately, however, within that act of terror and within that tragedy, there were just acts of bravery and you saw the best of humanity on this day. But I just want to show this clip. It shows one of the heroes of the Bondi Beach shooting. Um I believe his name. Oh, well, here's his name. His name is Ahmed Al Ahmed. And I just want to show this video because it's really unbelievable.
Oh! C'est un malade. Oh non, gros! Oh, ouais, mais il y a son pote, il va se faire tirer dessus. Il est trop con, le mec qui a l'arme.
Um, as you saw, Mr. Ahmed, he grabbed the gun from the older of the two assailants. There's more to that video. He then got into a gunfight with the son, and the son actually struck him in the shoulder. And I think they said he broke his arm and his and tore his rotator cuff. You see him here in this hospital bed. They raised over $2 million for him on GoFundMe. So very happy for him. Unfortunately, there were two other heroes of this incident. You see that? Well, here they are. Let me just get their names quickly. Um, Golly, I just had their names up. But either which way, this lady up here, as well as her husband, they actually tackled the son as he was trying to get away, and here you could see this, unfortunately, is their final moments because the son had a sidearm. Her husband actually tackled him and tore the gun away from him, but then he pulled his sidearm and unfortunately shot both of them dead. But once again, you saw the best of humanity that day. It's unfortunate that those two heroes did not make it, but both the attackers were later neutralized, and thankfully, they're gonna see justice. But a tragic incident overall. Um, but what I'm thankful for, AC, is that I and I want to be very careful because obviously I told you earlier I'm trying to go PG. I'm trying to stay away from certain things. But you already know that there was a certain side of the aisle that wanted to immediately go into this thing of, oh, Islamist extremists. We need to get them out of our country. Oh, Islamist extremists. You see, they cannot assimilate to they can't assimilate towards a certain culture. And what Mr. Ahmed showed is that's a load of bullcrap. Okay, I'm the same as the rest of y'all. I'm an Aussie, the same as the rest of y'all. I like cricket and I like rugby and I like soccer and I like eating Vegemite with my bread and my toast. You know what I'm saying? And it's really unfortunate all the way around that this had to happen while we obviously have what's going on in Gaza and in the land of milk and honey with what those people are doing. But rest in peace, man, to those 15 people that lost their lives. We got another tragic incident to go into, but AC, let me just get your thoughts on the Bondi Beach attack. And salute to Angie baby in the chat. Thank you for pulling up, Queen.
Well, I'm I'm in a weird place because I'm I I'm seeing kind of where instances are being exploited to a certain degree, and on the other side of those instances being exploited, we're not understanding how we got here. To understand how we got here is to understand why stuff like this happens, because people are tired of watching their people be destroyed, unalived, and then their people, while this stuff is happening, their people are made through propaganda and everything else, made to be the villains. So they act out. I'm not condoning the act of acting out. You know what I'm saying? But if I'd looked at it the way it the way some people will say, no, you can't look at it that way. No, you want me to look at it just on the surface so I can be this way, be sympathetic to your propaganda. But if I weigh how many lives on this side have been lost and how many lives on this side have been lost, it makes it hard for me to be that sympathetic, because the truth and the facts sometimes breeds a callous response, or somewhat of a callous response, to something that everyone in the world wants to call a tragedy. But the tragedy happened and is still happening to their people. So that's where I'll kind of leave it at that, because I'm I'm in a weird place with all of this. You there, Marky?
Can you hear me? Okay, my bad. I
Yeah.
was on mute. No, I was just saying, but I think that's really unfortunate. And again, I'm trying to be very careful with my language, but we don't want what they are doing to them because the Blue Star people, the people from the land of milk and honey, you already know what it is, AC. When the Gazans made or excuse me, when Hamas, I should say Hamas, when Hamas made the decision to do what they did on October the 7th, it oh God, I'm trying so hard to be PG and censor myself. But those people then made the decision that we're going to um what's the word? I just had the word in my head. Um Punishment. What they call it? What they call it? Essentially they were going to punish the entire population for the actions of a few. And in this case, you see, because I make the distinctions between Zionists and Jews. I don't think those are the same people. And I've heard you say that as well when you've discussed the kosher people that you speak to and that you do business with up there in New York. And shout out to my brother Juan Claudio for pulling up. Shout out Juan. Shout out Juan. Merry Christmas to you, Bodega Juan. Shout out to him.
Saying to you,
Yes,
because
sir.
I'm not shit above the rim. All right.
But no, I was just saying, AC. But it's unfortunate that we are not going to punish an entire group of people for the actions of a few wicked people in the Middle East.
What they do?
It-
Yeah,
let me. Well, you coming in late, Juan, but let
yeah.
me give you some context. We had a tragic terror attack that happened over there in Australia over this weekend. 15 people were killed at a Hanukkah festival. They were gunned down by a father and a son duo, both of whom were Pakistani nationals. They were both Islam. They were both Islam extremists. They showed up there. They started firing. And fortunately enough, a Muslim man actually jumped in there and stopped the shooting. And let me just play that video for you.
Oh! C'est un malade. Oh non, gros! Oh! Ouais, mais il y a son pote, il va se faire tirer dessus. Il est trop con, le mec qui a l'arme.
Yeah, you saw that. An extreme act of heroism by that man. And obviously, we heard that there were two other heroes that unfortunately lost their life. You see them here. This is a picture of their final moments. The woman's husband grabbed the gun from the son. And unfortunately, the son had another firearm, and he unalived both of them. Um, but tragic incidents. I was just making the point. It's very tragic the fact that the same way how those people use the media system and they use propaganda, like you were saying, AC, to try and paint all Muslims as these extremists, people that believe in murder and terrorizing other people. And then on the same hand, these two people decided to go and exact revenge against these Jewish people because of what the Zionists are doing in Israel. When if you speak to most Jewish people, and there's some Jews that live down here, they don't agree with what's going on over there in Palestine or Gaza at all, or within the land of milk and honey, because within there, there's you have apartheid going on. They don't agree with that stuff at all. So I was just saying, before you came in, one, it's really tragic that these people had to pay the price for the crimes of other wicked people. But what's your thoughts overall on this tragic incident?
Yeah, okay. Our chef.
No, I was the AC already went. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, it's gonna be terror everywhere, man. I can't. You
What
can't be.
one second, one second, one. Read Black Man. Show your face. Oh, that's my brother B3. Okay, okay. Okay, go ahead, Juan. My bad.
Yeah, no, there's gonna be terror all over the place. I mean, again, this is just not, you know, not moments on the, this planet Earth's history that we haven't had, issues like this. People posing as one thing or and they're another. You know what I'm saying? It's sad that we're living in a world that's like this, but my thoughts are, these guys that are, promoting, one set of people being bad than the other. You know what I'm saying? You gotta see, you're pointing one finger at them, but there's three other fingers pointing at yourself. So these guys got to stop doing this, because we're picking on one people, picking on one set of people when they're not even doing nothing. So it's very saddening to see, this.
Absolutely. My brother
And
B3 Pigs. How you
let me
doing?
just say no. This my name is Reed Blackman, yo. I don't know
Not
who
re-
this guy be, but shout out. I do know B3 Picks, man. Shout out to him. He's doing great work.
not Reed Black,
Uh,
man.
yeah. Shout out to Reed. Listen, my whole message I want to tell the
Now you see now, you done fucked up, you know that, don't you? I
You see
said
what I'm saying?
I no, I thought
No, so, you know what I'm saying? That you done
I,
fucked up now. You know that, don't you?
My bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He's so stupid.
But yeah, yeah, my name is Reed Blackman.
What's good,
And
Reed?
that's definitely what's good, family. And that's the message that I preach. Making sure brothers is reading, brothers is being informed, man. Read, black man, read. But
Hmm.
talk, man, Mark. That's a tragic situation that happened in Australia. When I'm kind of, talking to people from Australia on TikTok a lot of the times, and it was really unfortunate what happened out there. Now, who's being blamed for this whole situation, Mark?
The Muslims, well, not the Muslims. Israel. Sorry,
Well,
not the
well,
Okay.
Muslims.
well. I'll just say this: the two, and we're not blaming nobody for a mass casualty incident. We're not doing that at Democracy 101. But I will say the two individuals that have been taken in are a father and a son, both Pakistanis. Um, one, the younger one's name is Naveed Akram. I don't know the name of his father, but these are two individuals that did it. But fortunately enough, a Muslim was actually one of the heroes that disarmed them. So, you know,
It's
at
Mm.
it's
least,
saddening though. It's this
at
shit
least
is it gets sickening, bro. This
But
thing gets sickening to a point.
let's keep certain things in perspective. And this is where I was trying to be nice. Australia itself does not have a great history when it comes down to humanitarian rights.
Right.
So my sympathy for Australia is about as much as you can snap a finger to. Because I just recently watched that there was a Aussie woman. So she came in with the with uh this indigenous aborigine wow
Aboriginal.
original song, and
Mm.
it's a call for all indigenous aborigines to come together, stand strong, fight for our rights. They're going through their own civil war, to whereas things like apartheid and stuff like that still to this day have not been addressed. So that's why I'm saying on this particular one, I'm in a weird place with it because I understand the history of Australia. I understand the history of their inhumane acts against the Aborigines. I
Mm,
understand the fact that they have laws that
mm,
Aborigines still can't go to certain places and do certain things.
mm,
It's just like, ugh, okay, all right, that's yeah, okay. I'll just leave it to to the attack and who the attackers were. But I'm not gonna be out here trying to be all sympathetic towards Australia like that. Or
I
I
hear I
I
hear what go
Australia.
ahead, AC. Finish your point. Finish your point.
No, the only thing I was gonna say was I talked to Australians. I'm cool with a couple of Australians that I actually speak to them on the phone. So it's a weird place for me.
mm,
I'll just say is if it was the case that it was an Aboriginal a group that was attacking some Australian government buildings or going after police officers, I wouldn't have much sympathy because I agree with you. All the things that they did over here in the Americas, they did that to the Aboriginal people in Australia. Maybe even a little bit worse because they depopulated them, and now they will not even let them assimilate into their societies. Because it's just like you said. I remember reading a show, or excuse me, not reading a show, watching a show. Hello, but I was watching a show it was on Netflix, and it was about this young boy. He was supposed to be like this Aboriginal, like mythical legend, but he was supposed to be like their guardian against the whites, specifically against the police, because
mm,
they are just outrageous when it comes to how they treat young Aboriginal men, particularly. So I agree with you on that. But AC, don't you think that's sad, AC? Like, because we're not talking about the Australian government.
Yeah.
Like, we talking about people. We talking about individuals.
No, we're
You know what
talking
I'm saying?
about
I don't think that anybody in here should be targeted because of what we doing down there in Venezuela. Because if a Venezuelan like or a Trinidadian family decided to become extremists, like F the United States, y'all unalived my son who was a fisherman, and they kidnap me or they kidnap my family in retaliation. I mean, I would hope you had sympathy for me, regardless of what my country is doing.
Right.
No, I got sympathy for the victims because even though it happens over there, like I said, the weird narratives. Like for me, there's an underlying narrative that we have to stand in support and solidarity for Australia, and I'm like, on and where? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? And you're still got these same behaviors in 2025. So I'm not standing in
I hear
solidarity
you on that.
as
I hear you on that.
doing that. So that's a no-no. If you want me to have solidarity for those who are just out expressing their religious beliefs and involved in a religious ceremony, and some dude, whether you agree with what's going on with Israel and stuff like that, it all of this nonsense caused you to go out and act out like that, bro, you was wrong. If you want to
Right.
take the fight where the fight is actually happening. These were just innocent people celebrating Hanukkah.
Right.
That's like a group of African Americans getting killed during the Kwanzaa festival.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter where on the planet it happened. It's still wrong. They were celebrating
Yeah.
what their religious beliefs were. They were involved. There were kids there because that's how Hanukkah works. So at the end of the day, yes, you can call it a terrorist attack because you terrorize those young people who now forevermore will look at Hanukkah differently. Those survivors will look at Hanukkah differently. It terrorized them. It left a burning image in their mind. So that's where I'll keep it. That's why I was saying I'll keep it there. But
Right.
the everything else around it, I'm not trying to feed that. I'm not going to go with those narratives. I'm not going to solidarity support and all. No, 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 no. Not
Nah, because even if you was to be like, there's certain people in this world that just have so much hatred. You gotta remember these are people that have
Yeah.
hatred, installed in them by little, and from little. You know what I'm saying? From young
but
ages,
you,
they're taught to hate. They're
no,
taught
they're
to
not.
hate.
Islam is never the thing where you're taught to hate. Just like just
No,
like
no, no,
be
not not
son.
not
But
not
hold
saying.
on, AC, let Juan finish his point. Now I'll let you rebut
Not
that.
nah, yeah, yeah, not saying that it's a nation. I'm just saying there's certain people in this world, no matter what. It could be black, white, Asian, Puerto Rican, Dominican, whatever the fuck case may be. It could be whatever case may be. You know what I'm saying? There are people on this world, unfortunately, that are taught to hate from a young age. They're taught to hate, certain races. They're taught to hate certain type of people. They're taught to hate, certain acts because again, this is what they're taught. They're not, you know what I'm saying? They're not taught anything
Mhm.
else in the world but to taught to hate a certain way or to,
And
not understand, somebody from another country because, oh, that's not the thing. That's not, that's not what we people understand. We're not gonna
and,
do that. We're
and
gonna
to
understand.
support
Yeah,
and to
exactly.
support Juan's point, before I let you go, AC, think about a little boy growing up in 1960s Gaza. That young man was taught to hate. He was taught to hate when the Zionists came and kicked down his door and dragged his father out, and he never saw his
And
father again.
that's not a
That young man was taught to hate. So
no. I
I agree with
thought the
Juan.
hate when I seen that. That's the point I'm trying to say. If I am raised and I am being oppressed, there is no teaching me how to hate. You instilled that hate inside of me by your actions, by your oppression, by your laws, by everything you're doing to go after my people. My father didn't teach me to hate you. My mother never taught me to hate you. My religion never taught me to hate you. What taught me to hate you is your own actions. And that's the thing that upsets me at times when you get into these political conversations because people want to blame the act. not the thing that says, okay, in order for me to get to Long Island, I could drive there, take the bus there, or take the train there. But there is a way for me to get there, and it's tangible. It's real. So if my steps to look
Mm,
towards Long Island are filled with whites yelling at me, whites trying to spit on me, they're hitting me, sicking dogs on me, all kind of stuff, telling me my people are the reason why this country is so whatever, whatever. My people are the infestation to this country. That is not me. That is not a lesson I was taught from my parents. That is a outside lesson that's projected on me. And if I react in a certain way, then we have to understand. Stop that, and that will stop. If you never stop that and then want to condone that and hide behind that with political rhetoric, then this other thing will never ever stop. And that's
mm.
just the fact of it. And
I,
it's
I
just
don't disagree.
So
I
AC,
don't
AC,
disagree. I don't
real
disagree at
quick.
all, AC, because yeah, go ahead, Juan.
AC, what are you, AC? Like, what's your ethnicity? Just me asking.
I'm I'm multiracial. I am white, I'm indigenous, and I am black, but I identify mostly with my indigenous upbringing because I most of my life I lived on the reservation, or a good portion.
Okay, okay. So my, so I'm half Dominican and I'm half Puerto Rican. So, and you're from. I'm guessing. I don't know where you're from, but
New
I'm
York.
guessing yeah, New York. So I'm guessing the way that we work with like this works with each other, like especially those two races, the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans, right? So I
Hmm.
know that at a certain time and place, you know what I'm saying, these guys don't like each other. They'll never like each other. They'll be like, oh well, I'm not Puerto Rican, and they'll be like, oh well, I'm not effing Dominican, whatever the case may be, right? The reason why is that is because there's been so much hatred between them two. You know what I'm saying? Not saying everybody, everybody feels the same way. Now everybody feels it because I don't feel the same way. I have equal friends from both sides. I don't feel the same way. I feel a certain way when I see certain things. Yes, hatred towards each other. Because again, at the end of the day, we just all, we're all the same thing. We're all human. You know what I'm saying? We just have different beliefs. You know what I'm saying? Which, what great point you made was, yeah, you know what I'm saying? This thing here cannot be taught also, but this also can be shown. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could be sticking a dog on me. Somebody could be, spitting in my face. Somebody could be throwing something to me when I'm just trying to get to one area. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, too, there is a lot of people teaching their kids to hate certain people because of what they went through. Get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like let's say like if my grandfather came from Puerto Rico back in 75, right? He came from Puerto Rico, but all he's gotten is hatred since he's got here. He's gonna teach my mom. And then my mom's gonna teach me, like, yo, this is not right. This is why we mess with these guys. We don't mess with these guys because of this. You know what I'm saying? But certain people don't think that way. You know what I'm saying? Certain people, yeah, they won't think that way, but certain people will. Certain people will think that way. And I can tell you right now, I'm firsthand seeing it because I have a guy at this job that thinks this way. You know what I'm saying?
I had to fire. I had to fire a good dude, hardworking dude. But once he started opening up, he was. I would say where people try to tell me those black people are racist. I would point to this guy,
Yeah,
and I'm like, bro, this restaurant has every type of race.
yeah,
And looking at those people who uh, are from Europe, and you're saying the things that you're saying, and you're displaying. Then at the end of the day, you can have all of those thoughts once you outside this building, but inside this building, we are a collective of humans.
yeah,
That's how I run this business. We are a collection of humans. All of that other stuff, all of that other stuff you're talking about, I don't have time for it because this business has to make money, and that type of stuff is not tolerated.
yeah. So
But what I'm
like,
saying this. When you look at it, you see across the board. Yes, it is. Yes, it is taught. But again, if you always go back and ask the question, how did you get here? There's always that initial thing of where I was not taught, I was shown. This was my life. This was my existence. I have that existence. I lived in Long Island um, at times in the 70s and 80s.
Correct.
And people have no idea what it's like to, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I'm walking to the swimming pool. It's hot. I'm meeting my friends there. I'm walking through a neighborhood. First of all, before I get through the neighborhood, I'm stopped at least 3 times by the police. Why are you in this neighborhood? I'm going to Caniac Park to go swimming. Well, is there another way you can go? No. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I was taught, and I'm speaking from me. I was taught to not trust the police,
Right.
partly because of what they did, partly because my experience, partly because my parents' experience and things like that. So the police was something that I've never had a great relationship with. I get that part. I get that part. But all I'm saying overall, when it comes down to something like this, where you choose to take your son, who's supposed to be the continuation of your legacy, you take him and you arm yourself and you go out and you ambush people in celebration, because that's what that was. That was an ambush. You just didn't walk up to anybody, back it out, click it, and say, "Nah, y'all done." You know what I'm saying? Hid. You gave yourself an advantage, and you ambushed those people. You
Yeah.
are 1,000% wrong, my man, for doing it like that.
Yeah. Not facts. That's definitely a fact. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's just it's a weird conversation to have with certain people when you having this conversation, even when like certain people where I have conversations like this, you know what I'm
Some
saying.
people are just not mature enough to.
Yeah, like even like I've had conversations with people and even at old jobs where they'd be like, well, I don't understand why people are doing it like this, or why people are like this, or they say something kind of racial, and then I'll be looking at them like, well, you don't understand what these guys go through. You don't understand what these guys they're put through, or even what they were taught. So you can't we can't always say everything's everything's just one person's fault, because at the same time too you're portraying hatred right now yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah,
you're sticking the knife on him, but you're also sticking the knife in your back, because now you're just portraying hate just for no reason. There's no reason to hate nobody else. You know what I'm saying? That's what they believe in. Let them believe in what they believe in. If they believe in that, then that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You tell them, look, listen, I respect your beliefs, but I believe in something else. You leave me alone.
No,
You know?
I agree 1,000%. And it's unfortunate we have it down here on this island, despite the fact how diverse we are. There is a group, or I'll say there's a faction of the population down here that has roots going all the way back to the old sugarcane union days, back to just after slavery was abolished in 1870. Like they have, like they're mixed with Germans and Danish, as well as the slave, as well as the Afro population down here. So they have this type of I ain't gonna say vitriol for people that come from other places, but they have this attitude towards them of y'all are aliens. But that's
Yeah,
just not the case. Like we got people from all over the place that contribute to down here. We got Filipinos. They teach our children. They go into the school and do the jobs don't nobody else want to do. You know what I'm saying? We got people from St. Lucia, Haiti, the Dominican Republic. They build our houses. They paint for us. They go out in the fields for us. Like and then my mother, Grenadian. You got Trinidadians. Like, but they'll come to me and they'll have a conversation with me and not even know that my mother is from somewhere else, and they'll be talking this all about these aliens and they ain't from Dong Ya and so on, but you can't. I ain't gonna say you gotta separate yourself from that, but you gotta mute that because it's hard to avoid certain individuals or certain types of individuals anywhere in life. You know what
Like,
I'm saying? But
it's always gonna be like that, Mark. Because even for me, like I grew up in the middle of Dorchester. You know what I'm saying? So if you ever been to Boston, you know what I'm saying? Like Southeast, that's Charlestown. That's mostly now it's Haitians, Mexicans, a whole bunch of white people. But Dorchester's always been like a real black town. You know what I'm saying? So like me, my family, and then maybe there was maybe another like six families at the time where I was living down there that was, really kind of Spanish. Like we was full blown Spanish. Then they started, more in the earlier 2000s or later on to into the 2010s and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? There were more of the Spanish folk. But when you look at us, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, oh, well, they ain't belong down here. Like, no, we belong down here too. Because at the same time, too, there was always, there's always, some other type of ethnicity wherever you at. You know what I'm saying? I'm never gonna hate no other ethnicity because I don't believe in certain religious and certain beliefs. I'm not gonna do that. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I don't care for much of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna respect your religion. Cool, do your thing, G. You know what I'm saying? If
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? If you don't eat pork, cool, do your thing, G. That's you. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
don't you don't eat
Surely
certain things.
I'm gonna go have me a bacon and egg sandwich, bro. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and I feel now facts. Now feel me. You feel me? I just that's what that's what really it is. You know what I'm saying? Even when like right, so my biggest thing is right, there's Dominicans that come from the island that are not cocky at all. They're never super cocky. They're never super, ignorant about certain things. But then there are certain Dominicans that'll come from the island and they'd be like, oh well, you're not a real Dominican because you wasn't raised there. Okay. What do you want me to do? What you want me to boo about that? You know what I'm saying? My parents
Bro.
decided.
Yeah.
Well, tell them. Well, tell them to go on back.
Yeah,
That's
you know
what
what
you
I'm saying?
tell them.
But
Hey,
what you want
fellas,
me to do
listen.
about that?
You get that? I'm gonna tell y'all that exists everywhere and anywhere
Yeah.
because there is that faction of Shinnecock people. One of my own cousins. This dude is my cousin, and we got into a big argument that if we were face to face, we probably would have threw knuckles. And the fact that he was like, "Yeah, you not representing the tribe like that because your father and your aunt took all y'all off the reservation for a better life, bro. What jobs is the reservation offering?
So
At that
so
time, we weren't even federally recognized, so there was no jobs except the
Eh,
smoke shop and the little diner thing that nobody goes into once it's winter because the snow is just too thick for people to be driving around like that.
so where you so
Absolutely,
where's your
absolutely,
family from?
absolutely. Hey,
Huh?
we're gonna move on to the next topic though.
Oh, I just wanted to
But
answer his question. My family's from New York. My tribe is the Shinnecock Nation. You feel what I'm saying? So this is my indigenous land, Brooklyn.
Ah,
My tribe is actually in the stories of Harriet Tubman.
oh, okay.
We also fought the Boston. We were one of the tribes that was involved in the Boston Tea Party, the French versus Canadian wars.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's
All right.
you know.
So yeah, so
But
yeah, now I got a picture of everything. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I wanted.
oh, okay, all right.
no, absolutely, absolutely. Shout out to the natives wherever you are, man. Y'all come from a deep, deep, deep history and bloodline. Pre-Columbus. It's a shame we don't know a lot about what was going on pre-Columbus, but I digress, man. We're gonna move on. AC, you already probably heard about this because I texted you about this. FBI Director Dan Bongino resigns. He has finally had enough. He's finally bid adieu to the FBI. And you see his post right here. He says he will be leaving in January. He thanks Trump, Bondi, as well as Patel, the whole clown show. What I do know is, and what AC also knows is, one is that nobody at the FBI is going to miss Dan Bongino. A couple weeks ago, me and AC, we went into a report put out by an anonymous group of FBI agents, and here you see one of the lines. It says one source who reportedly described FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino as, quote, something of a clown, reported he cannot believe there were no aboard FBI special agents with a better understanding of the workings of the FBI who might have been a better fit for the job.
Mm,
Um, then it goes into a story where it says while addressing FBI employees, Bongino then told the employees at the FBI field office, the truth is for chumps. The man was an absolute disaster. In this 115-page report, his agents took an absolute dump on top of him.
mm,
He was a Secret Service agent, was a podcaster, should have never
mm.
been in this position in the first goddamn place.
Right.
We obviously heard, I don't have the clip up, but a couple weeks ago he was on Fox News and they caught the January 6th pipe bomber. And for those of you who don't know, during January 6th, there was this big conspiracy that the FBI planted pipe bombs because there were some pipe bombs found. I'm not sure which building it was, but there were pipe bombs found near the Capitol. And Bongino was one of the people who were pushing those conspiracy theories
Yeah.
that it was the Biden FBI, even though Trump was in office, the Biden FBI set this up to make it look like to make January 6th look even worse.
Yeah.
And
It
Mm,
now
was.
that he's the deputy director of the FBI and they
mm.
caught the pipe bomber, he then goes on there and says, well, I used to get paid for my opinions. Maybe I'll go back to doing that one day. And now he steps down from the FBI.
Yeah. Just to
But
give some clarity, that
go
two
ahead to AC.
two were found. One was found near the Supreme Court.
Mm.
One was found near the DNC, and one was found near some field office type, secondary or third type of RNC office. So whoever the pipe bomber was, he had no discrimination. Political lines just really didn't affect his ideology where he
Right.
wanted these pipe bombs to be. So
He just
that's the
he
only
was
kind.
just act, he just wanted to act the terrorism. That's basically what he's telling
Yeah,
me.
basically.
Okay.
Meanwhile, while this is going on, AC and Juan, we just had a serial killer, and Juan, you probably heard about this. You see it up there
In
at
Providence.
Brown University in Rhode Island.
Yep.
This shooter he shot and unalived two students at Brown University on the 13th. Then he went north to MIT and unalived the professor in his home. And then he was found dead yesterday in a storage facility in New Hampshire. While
Eh,
this is going on, AC, the director of the FBI is on Katie Miller's podcast doing interviews with his girlfriend.
And at what point did you two meet?
We met in, was it late 2022?
At a friend's house in Nashville. Actually, John Rich was having an event at his house, and it was we were trying to get music out for conservative personalities, and John's always been a fantastic host, and we met at his house, and I walked her up to her, and I told her she had a nice jacket on, and I think she turned around and walked away.
That's not true. He always tells the story like this. I'm like, I at no point walked away. I just did not, I mean, it just didn't hit me that my jacket was like the entry point of, hey, we should.
Man, first off, all I got from that story is that Cash Patel was a goddamn scrub in her eyes. She wasn't looking at him. She wasn't paying him no mind. Now that he's the FBI director and he can use SWAT teams, or he can assign SWAT teams to follow her around at her country music performances. Now she cares. Now she's hopping on I'm trying to be PG, but now she's hopping on the cash train. God damn it! That's all I got from that interview. Aside from
Get the
the
polo.
fact that why is
She's
the FBI, the director of the FBI, doing podcast interviews like he's some type of celebrity? And did you see this man's socks?
Nah,
Like
he's
oh that like I never seen no interview with James Comey's and his old girl. I've never seen it for Mueller and for who Trump had there after Comey got up out of there. Like these people are an embarrassment. And this happens at the same time. The FBI just released about 300,000 files and documents related to the Epstein files. Today is the deadline for them to release it. However, they're withholding some documents and some files for quote national security concerns. So the entire DOJ and FBI is in a tailspin right now. But AC, let me get your reactions to uh the embarrassment of federal law enforcement that we have. Then I'll come to one.
First I'm gonna say, ah, was that not so cute? He was like, he said that she said, then he said, then she said that he walked away,
Our
and then she
jacket.
walked
My
away. I
jacket
was
is
just like,
what
oh
was
my
the
god, oh
door
my
in.
god, oh my god, Capital, you're just so hot. I'm like,
I just couldn't
bro,
believe my jacket was the way how we got here. You didn't give a
like,
damn about this man
like
until he became FBI director. Stop
I'm
lying.
I'm gonna say it like this: Yacht and Goofball, y'all made for each other. Y'all made for each other. You get you. I mean, it would have been hilarious to me if if they was doing that in like some hood theater, and you always get that one dude that yells out, "Shut the You know what I'm saying? That would have been perfect right there, because that probably would have been me if I was sitting in that audience. And I don't even know why I would be sitting in that audience. But other than that, it's like, look, man, you are the TikTok FBI agent. You are that guy. You are the guy that says, you know what? All these big, burly, real FBI men, their jackets are just too big for my little frail self. Somebody get me a little girl jacket. Get me one of them extra small slash extra small extra medium jackets, and make sure I got the patches on it, because I need my TikTok shoot. I need my TikTok photo. There we go. Look, a couple of agents stand behind me so I could do this selfie, and I'm gonna do the high one. We're actively, and the idiot is actually disclosing FBI features on his TikTok feed. Oh, we just activated the cell phone, whatever, whatever. Okay, so now I just throw away my phone because you just activated something that's gonna track my phone. Oh, now you make another statement. Best thing for me to do now is, you don't know what I look like. You don't know. I'll drive to the border and then cross the border and take a flight from that other place that I drove down to the border, and now I'm gone. Now I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's more like, do I really trust that you got the pipe? You got the real bomber of the pipe the pipe bomber person? Do I really trust that all of these incidents that concern the FBI, you people got the right stuff? Because for me, I always ask the question, why haven't we heard any real news coming out of the whole Charlie Kirk thing? Why haven't there been any news about the two uh soldiers who were shot, and one was unalived? Why does these things have like a 1 day cycle of outrage, and on one side it's the outrage, the other side, oh, let's just stop with the political violence, we shouldn't be condoning it and stuff like that. Listen, you're not the person who's doing it, so don't give me the warning. You sound soft when you do that. You sound like an enabler when you do that. These people are doing it over there. Call them out. Don't tell me I'm doing something wrong, because I'm only telling you what they're doing over there. So I'm just like, you know what? It makes it very, very hard, because the whole FBI's account of Mr. Kirk, none of that is adding up. Not even from ballistic experts. None of the stuff is really adding up when you telling me how this man, and then you got the video of how this man went up to these agents, right on the street, did what they did, and they took him in right there. But then the man just pleaded not guilty.
Mm,
Why would you do that? And they got a videotape of you and everything else. Just take the guilty plea, you can get it done. You're extending the trial for what? Because is the video AI? Is it a deep fake? I mean, we know there's a deep fake of Neil deGrasse Tyson that he had to come out and say something that this is scary. We've got Congress talking about this stuff. So now I'm just like, bruh, I don't know no more, especially with you people. And this is why
right,
in the first administration, nobody wanted to take the COVID virus,
right,
the COVID vaccine.
right.
So it's just like, man, listen, you're creating stuff that is just madness, madness. So I can give my opinion, but I don't trust Tash Patel. I don't trust Dan Bongino. I don't trust none of them that's in this administration talking about you're doing criminal investigations. I'm gonna take a bank robber, put him as the chief of bank robberies, the special division that goes after bank robberies, and then ask him, hey, that big bank that and these rash of bank robberies that's been happening, you know, what's going on with that? Well, we're actively investigating, and as soon as we find something or any leads, we will post them. Yeah, but weren't you convicted of bank robbery just like 6 months ago? No, that was
That's
that
fake
was some
news.
fake news. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, bruh. All right, all right,
Nigga
all
like
right,
bank robbery.
all right. But that's kind of where I am with a lot of this that's concerning them. I don't trust you guys for nothing.
Mm,
You are the criminals.
mm.
Absolutely. You got any thoughts on this clown show, as the FBI agents describe it themselves? El Juan of Puerto Rico.
Um, saddening to see what the world's come to. TikTok videos and podcasts. It's just sad, bro. I don't like my man was just saying. I don't even know what happened with the whole Charlie Kirk, investigation. I don't even know how this dude pled, not guilty to this whole thing, and then you got this dude actively killing people at colleges, major colleges at that. You know what I'm saying? Actively killing people. And then, 2 days later, he's found dead in a fucking storage in New Hampshire.
Watch your cousin. Watch your cousin.
My fault. But, it's just clown activity. I've been saying this since, maybe I was 21. This country's gone, how do you say it? And it's gotten so much worse since when I was young. This country has gotten so much worse, and I just don't see how it gets better. You know what I'm saying? Because we have politicians that are crooked. We have, that's always been the thing, but we have politicians that are crooked. We have TikTok stars that are FBI, our FBI directors. This is craziness. We have, the guy that run The Apprentice as the president of the United States of America. Like
No,
really, like
like the craziest part about that one, they put a sexual predator in office, hoping that he would expose other rich, powerful sexual predators.
it's just, and that's just what I'm saying though. Like,
And Donald Trump is a civilly adjudicated rapist. Like, you
and
can
like,
call Donald Trump a rapist. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers for what he did to E. Jean Carroll,
yeah,
and they
and
put him in the White House.
and, uh, excuse me, I'm sorry. My thing is this, right? Like, and my biggest thing is always gonna be this: is who keeps giving these guys this power? look at the people that are voting for these people. You know what I'm saying? These are people that are not either very well educated or they are very educated, but they're just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you you see what they're doing and then point the finger back when, oh well, this is not going the way that it's planned supposed to go with. You know what I'm saying? Well, again, like, my man just saying, we're we're in an era of what are we doing? What in the world are we doing? Because it's you're sitting here and you're giving this dude, a break because or he's leaving because what why are you leaving now? Because you're not doing your job. You're not doing anything. So at this point, what are these guys? What are the rest of these guys doing? You know what I'm saying? You have how many pages is it, Marky, of the FBI agents just ranting about him?
Oh, 115 pages
115
of them
pages.
just taking an absolute dump on
And I
top of Cash Patel and
and I'm
Bongino.
and I'm and I'm pretty sure there's more pages to come. But
Yeah.
again,
Oh no, they're gonna come out with another report in 6 months.
so you gotta we gotta as a country, and this is not a shot at nobody. It's not because I both political parties, they both to me are always wrong. They're just this is just something that I've always felt like, the politicians work for themselves, they don't work for the people. As a country, we gotta look at this and we gotta be like, look, listen, bro, like something's gotta change here. Because obviously, even the smallest things for us are not changing. This stuff is just getting ridiculous now. Like, what are
What
we doing?
one thing, and it's a good point to move on. But that's a good point to move on with Juan, because there's certain levels of inhumanity and just lack of human decency that has become normalized within the presidency. Um,
But
over
it's not.
this weekend,
But it's not even the presidency. Tell you, like
but no,
the
the
pres.
fact, but
But the
finish
pres.
your point. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
The
Finish your point.
presidency is not even the point of, like, yeah, like we have a nincompoop running the country. That whatever you want to call it is call it. It's a nincompoop. He's a nincompoop that runs the country. The guy was on a TV show. He's a rapist. Whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be. But we got to look at the people that are putting him in power. Look at the people that are putting him in power. No, seriously, like go look at somebody that actually went and voted for Trump. And you tell me the lack of intelligence that he had.
Latino for Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump.
Yanette Correa screams injustice after her husband was placed on an expedited deportation order after showing up to his immigration check-in in Miami.
Basically. No, seriously, basically.
I will vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at look at it, bro. Like this, it makes no sense. Like, why are you guys doing this?
bro.
Because people are, and I said this is a point I wanted to move on with, because unfortunately Donald Trump's lack of decency rears its head again, and let my brother B3 picks back on the panel. It's
Whoa, Reed
unfortunate.
Blackman.
Yeah, Reed Blackman. Excuse me, Reed
My
Blackman.
boy Reed
Excuse me.
Blackman.
Yeah, Reed
Hold,
Blackman. But
Salute to
shout
the
shout out to
family.
B3
I
picks
just
though.
hold on, my fault. I just seen this that here. And it's not that I don't like America. I love America. I love America. But when you looking at this, bro, like you can't even tell me. Matter of fact, AC, you probably older than all. When you are older than all. Back in the 90s, back in the 80s, bro, this country didn't even run like. Imagine the way that you tell me, like, if you could go back 20, 30 years ago and you be like, bro, this is what's gonna happen 20, 30 years from now. Well, are you gonna believe it?
No, Donald Trump in the
No, 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 no,
1990s,
no, no, no,
Donald
no, no, no.
Trump becoming president was literally a joke on SNL.
But do you see what I mean, bro? Like now you see like this is a joke, bro. This is this, and then I'm not saying the country's a joke, but the like we're I forgot what video I seen, bro. That we're like not like we're at one point it was the greatest country in the, on earth. Like we could still be, but it's like, bro, like what are we doing?
Well,
What are we doing?
it starts when you look at it from the first celebrity president that we had, and that was Ronald Reagan. And you saw the damage that Reaganomics did and how Reaganomics messed up the country. You saw, during that celebrity presidency who's never served the people and stuff like that, he was just a figurehead to sign the bills that they wanted. And when the Republican Party figured that part out, because Ronald Reagan was elected over, and I say this with nothing but genuine, the greatest president that ever existed was Jimmy Carter, because
Right,
this dude was a progressive. He was the progressives. He was implementing and trying to change and actually willing to fund people who was going to come out with alternative fuels. One of his biggest thing was peanuts. The husk of the peanut has so many industrial usages. He put solar panels through most of DC. So big oil knew that what he was saying was a threat. So they campaigned against him to make him a one-term president. And they laughed at, yeah, he's going to try to use sunlight. The sun doesn't shine all day, so solar panels are inefficient. I was going through this when I was in school. We were doing reports on global warming way back then.
right.
And this is why we were supporting Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter came to my school, spoke. I was like, whoa. You feel what I'm saying? So I understand where the uh the business sector, the corporations, they needed to get control, because this
Right.
is how the income wealth gap happens. You got very smart MIT students who do this thing called hedge funding. Hedging only means that I'm looking at your trajectory, and then I'm going to hedge where you should be at what point. So if a hedge fund can do that with finances, you can quantify that and do it over decades to understand that you're going to start to break this stuff down, normalize it.
Right.
So after Carter, who was the next celebrities to be elected? Those were California Republican governors. Jesse Ventura. You feel what I'm saying? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So it became normal that a TV personality and an actor and a movie star can become president
Yeah, man.
of
And it's just to me it blows my mind, bro. Like 20, 40, like 30, 40, 50 years ago, bro,
Well,
you
well,
ask anybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is a good place to move on with because and I'm glad AC brought up Jimmy Carter because my mother actually said it the other day, when Jimmy Carter passed away. She said that she also said he was the greatest president she's ever seen in her lifetime, and said that he was one of the greatest human beings she had
yes.
ever seen
yeah.
take public office. Um, we are working with one of the most vile and disgusting human beings to have ever taken office. Earlier this week, Rob Reiner, the Hollywood movie director, was tragically unalived, suspectedly by his son, along with his wife. For those of you who don't know who Rob Reiner is, he has had some great movies like a few good men with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, and Stand by Me and Misery. You know what I'm saying? He has a lot of classics on his resume.
He was Mike.
Um,
He was Michael from Archie Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
damn, man. I mean, he was just a legend, and unfortunately, he passed away. He was also a political voice, from time to time. spoke out against Trump, and Donald Trump put out this tweet. Not even like the man's body wasn't even cold yet. He put this out 7 hours after it was announced that Rob Reiner was unalive. He says, "A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured, struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away." And look at all these commas. This man doesn't even understand grammar. Has passed away together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused the others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement. Another comma, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession with President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness with the golden age of America upon us. Perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. So he's mocking these people after they were brutally knifed down by their own son. Then it comes out earlier this week, or excuse me, it came out today, I think. Donald Trump is changing the name of the Kennedy Memorial Center, which was named after John F. Kennedy was unalived when he was assassinated. John F. Kennedy, one of the greatest champions for social justice and for liberal democracy there will ever be. So I mean, some of those speeches, like I literally play it in my office all day. Him going to Harvard and talking about the city on the hill, talking about supporting the press. He is like there could not be a more antithetical president to who John F. Kennedy was than Donald Trump. And you see it up here. They're gonna now call it the Donald Trump Kennedy Center. They're gonna call it the Donald Trump Kennedy Memorial Center. And on top of that, earlier this week, I don't have the pictures of it, but at one of the I think at the Reagan Presidential Library, he has now put plaques underneath Barack Obama, George Bush, and Joe Biden's names, where he calls Barack Obama the most divisive president in history. That his successor Hillary Clinton didn't get through. That it was a scheme to spy on the greatest president ever, President Trump. Says Joe Biden was ran by his leftist advisors, and he even goes all the way back to Bill Clinton, and he talks about
Jesus.
yeah, underneath Bill Clinton's plaque, he says that his wife Hillary Clinton was beaten by Donald Trump later. Like, bro,
That's
you weren't
crazy.
even involved in politics
Bro,
all the way back then, bro.
the,
That's just another level of petty.
I,
Like,
This is our president. This
no,
is our president.
that's your president. And
That's our
like
president, bro.
I was surprised there wasn't like a picture of Joe Biden with a private part drawn over it. Like
bro,
this is some sixth grade, like elementary school levels of pettiness, bro.
And this is what I'm talking about, bro.
but
But go ahead, chef. Do your thing, brother.
I,
Yeah,
You
I,
know what?
yeah.
Go ahead. Do
Go,
your
go
thing.
ahead, cook AC. Then I'm gonna come to B3. Then I'm gonna come to Juan. Go ahead.
well, he did it for damn near every president, pretty much every modern president. And the crazy thing is, Caroline Levitt said that, or Trump said, somebody released it, that he had a hand in writing this nonsense. So that's number one. The country is burning and it's on fire, and you're doing petty things like that. Now, here's the part of his recent actions that I'm kind of liking. I'm like, you go, boy, do your thing. I like that move right there. Because I'm going to ask everybody on the panel, simple yes or no answer. You're a living person. Would you want your name put on a memorial? The silence tells me everybody's like,
Oh yeah,
hell
yeah,
no.
yeah. I would want a memorial. Hell
No,
yeah.
no, no.
Not if I'm alive. No.
No,
Oh, if I'm
you are
alive, no,
alive.
absolutely not. No.
Exactly. So no sane person who's alive and still living is going to say, yeah, put my name on a memorial. is going.
aircraft would. I ain't
You
gonna lie to you.
know what I'm saying? Because it's like you're putting in stone your inevitability. We know how Kennedy died. We all saw it. There's the video. There's the film of it. There's the conspiracies behind it. And you're gonna want to put your name while you're living next to that guy on his memorial, bro. Go ahead and do that, because this is where karma says, and Murphy's law says, now that you've done
Murphy's
that dumb
Law.
now that you've done that dumb stuff, what's more likely to happen is more than likely going to happen. Because me and my girl Karma over here gonna make sure things go down a certain way now on, because you just marked yourself. And that's the way I look at that. Like, there's no way I'm a living human being. I'm gonna want to put my name for vanity next to someone who was brutally assassinated like that, and I'm a living person. Even if I passed away, do not put my name next to that dude's name. I think he was a great dude and everything, but no, 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 no. Unless I lived up to what he was doing and better, okay, yeah. But other than that, no, Because history tells me how this dude died. That's why he has that memorial center, because of how he was brutally assassinated and his pop and his political views, and that's where I landed.
No, absolutely. Also, President Kennedy served in World War II. Was the
Mhm.
commander. Yeah, was the commander of a PT boat which was sunk, and he bravely saved the lives of 4 men that day.
Yep.
And then you have Donald Trump, who dodged the Vietnam draft because he had bone spurs, allegedly. But Juan, my brother Juan, I mean, you were just talking about it right there about
I'm
our
sorry.
slide. I mean, I'm gonna just say, I mean, he's a goddamn punk. Donald Trump is a goddamn punk. Like, there's nothing else to say about
Hey,
it.
man, don't
And
don't
it's
talk
not
about.
just him. It's his whole bloodline. Juan, did you know Donald Trump's grandfather, Frederick Trump, when he
Yeah.
came to this country, he was a draft dodging criminal? Did you
And
know
I
that?
ain't know that. Listen, man, that's Kerry as president, man. I'm trying to say.
But in today's day and age, he would take him up out of here. But Juan, what's your reaction to the fact that
That,
that's your president that's
that's
doing
our
all this
president.
bull crap?
That's it. That's all I gotta say. That's our president. That's it. Yo, I hate my generation, bro. I swear to God. God, I
I
hate us,
said, I
bro.
said, I really believe that there was a time traveler that decided to make an appearance in 2016, and that's the reason why Donald Trump is our president, because there was some event that caused a new timeline, and unfortunately, we living in the new timeline where Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America.
The
No,
progressive
hold on, hold on, Carrier. That's your president, G. Don't do that. Don't
Uh,
do that. You was just offended him.
yeah, that's your president. Like you say, you're not allowed to criticize the country according to you, Carrier. We in North Korea, America, according to Carrier.
Yo, I'm sorry, yo. I'm sorry, yo. That's I just, I swear to God, bro. Something always makes me laugh, bro. This country is just, I don't know, bro. No more. I love the country though. I love America. I really do love being American. It's just, Jesus Christ, bro. Yeah, no, I can't wait till the next generation takes over because I want to see the stupidity they.
bro. The reason,
Well, we're gonna move on to the next topic though. Shout out to Donald Trump being an R word. I ain't gonna say the word though. But in
No,
other
facts. That's a
news,
big fact.
yep, big facts. He's an absolute R word. But in other news, you were talking about it earlier, AC, or it might have
Oh,
been Juan Claudio.
What's
with
good?
corruption within our representatives. And I just want to take some time to touch on this individual and maybe get y'all's reaction to the story. Representative Corey Mills, represents a district down there in Florida. He's a Republican. An article came out earlier this week in Substack that absolutely exposes this guy as a mercenary for foreign companies. So essentially, this person right here, and further, you see he's being evicted from his DC apartment because he couldn't pay the rent. He's behind in rent by $85,000. But
Jesus
he
Christ.
owes yeah, no, it's even worse than that one. He owes $66 million to a Canadian investment firm called 9 Point Solutions. I think that's what it's called. And the executive for 9 Point Solution that approved these loans for him, they are owned, or excuse me, they're partnered with a Saudi firm that handles Bitcoin. Not only that, this person, Corey Mills, he is the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and he owns a weapons company, which is what he's accumulated all this $66 million debt for. And right now, he is on the committee that's deciding whether we need to pull funds from Ukraine or not. Because what happens is you're gonna have private contractors like this fucking idiot, or excuse my French, but like this idiot on the screen, this corrupt, morally bankrupt idiot, he's gonna slide in and use the suffering of thousands over there to sell his weapons and try and dig his way out of that hole. But I'll post the link to that article. They call this fella George Santos with a gun. And
Not
AC
George
knows who
Santos.
George Santos. Oh well, you
Not,
probably know who George Santos is.
not
Juan
George.
Claudio. You may
So
or may not.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy work.
this individual, extremely corrupt. By the way, he also had a restraining order granted against him for battery against one of his girlfriends. So you could just add that in there. But AC, what's your reaction to Representative Corey Mills, aka Canadian mercenary, aka Saudi Bitcoin mercenary, and the
AKA
fact
George
that
George Santos Jr. with a gun.
yeah, George Santos Jr. with a gun, and the fact that outside of just super PACs, our politicians could be bought and sold in this way.
well, it's indicative to this administration. It's indicative to what Donald Trump is selling, because we just saw that corruption with Donald Trump on full display when he was asked by somebody about some new pardon of someone. He was like, yeah, we got to look at, Pam, can we look into that? We got that, right? Then we find out that Donald Trump Jr., right? Don Jr. is put on a board, right? Of this drone company board, right?
Yup,
And
I heard that.
within a couple of weeks, this drone company board of him being put on the board and stuff like that now is going to deal with government contracts. Now we also find out that Stephen Miller was involved in this, was involved in some weapons company or some sort of company that made something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And he started to dump some of his stocks, which then caused the stock prices to go up. And then this company, as he started to make money, the company then gets a government contract. So we got three different factions of corruption concerning military. What does that tell us? On the low, they are looking to either start their regime change type thing, whatever they're talking about down in there, and they're going to test out these drones and drone engines and all of this new technology. They're going to either test it out there, or they're going to sell it to Russia or sell it to Ukraine, or even both. So everybody's looking to profitize off of military actions moving forwards. And this is probably why we're seeing increasing military actions globally, because everybody's setting up for to make millions and billions of dollars selling weapons of mass destruction. So this is where we are. This is why this is, when we're looking at it, the rise of the authoritarian, you know what I'm saying, the nationalist ideology and stuff like that, because these people are not who they claiming they are. They just want to make money.
Mm.
That's it. Because right now they're like, okay,
And the fastest way to do that is to push
it's,
America towards an
And
ethnocracy.
mm-hmm.
Because you heard how they talk. You heard how that man was talking about those Somalians, AC.
yeah,
They're
Mm-hmm.
garbage. Oh, Somalians. And then you have these idiot, just racists who keep saying, "Oh, don't call us racist." But then they push this Nazi ideology of, Muslims, they can't come to this country because they don't assimilate well with our culture. We can't just have people from these other countries that don't assimilate well. But what about the Italians when they came here? They like brought some of the most vicious criminal activity in the history of the United States. So are you gonna kick out all Italian immigrants as well? But
Mm.
then all your Italian immigrants, they served so well in World War II. So you can't say this bull crap. Same thing with Muslim immigrants. That they try to push this crap on. That individual that killed those two National Guardsmen, say whatever you will about them, he served our country. You know what I'm saying? With those CIA zero groups over there.
Yeah, but I gotta get off because I got something to do. But yo, thank you for having me. Yo, AC, you know it's always a pleasure talking to you,
yeah,
big
for
dog.
sure, for sure.
Harriet, stop being a chooch. But much love, brother. You already know.
Oh, whoa. Most,
All right,
most deaf.
all right, Marky. I'll see you
Yeah.
later. Island bye.
Yes. Yeah, aircraft carrier, I think is from China. I think that's where aircraft carrier gets most of his values and principles from, respectfully. But nah, I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000% AC. And all these actions that are going to be pushed around the world in the next year or 2 years or 3 years, however long this administration is in office, and however long the Republicans have power to keep letting him do what he's doing, they're gonna profit, and that's just simply what it's gonna be. And this individual, he's owned by the Saudis and whatever Canadians he owes that $60 million to. Stephen Miller, or excuse me, Donald Trump Jr. and that drone company, um, they got in right at the right time, because when you talk about stocks, even if that company isn't necessarily publicly traded, the stock for drone equipment and drone research, when you talk about military contractors, is through the roof,
Yeah,
because drones is going to be the next age of military weaponry that we put most of our investments in. Especially when you look at how the Ukrainians have used drones in the field, and how they've managed to neutralize most of Russia's armor using drones alone. So I absolutely agree. Um, it's a shame, and we had a conversation over the phone, or no, we actually had a conversation on here when we were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and these other people coming up in 2028. We need somebody, and I sent you that Jubilee 1 verse 20 with James Tallarico. He is one of the people who says that he wants to step up and propose a constitutional amendment that makes it illegal for public representatives to take private donations or to have super PACs. I need somebody to put forth a revolutionary agenda like that. And it's a shame that something like that is revolutionary, but it needs to be put forth, because right now, what you see with the pardons, we obviously talked about, billionaires are running this country. The only reason why you give the CEO of Binance a goddamn pardon is because a billionaire slipped you some money through that blockchain, and they're able to hide that money now, because you don't have to use your name, or you don't have, or rather, the blockchain site does not have to verify your identity. So these people are just slipping money to the Trump administration, and then they get their pardons. And then you have a big dummy of a president whose brain is melting, who could just go out there and say, "Oh, I don't remember. I don't know him. Who cares? Who cares? Joe Biden probably did it." So now we just stuck in this place, man. But I'm hoping that the midterms come through. That potentially we can impeach this guy. Potentially, even if we don't get the 2/3 of the Senate, we get some senators in there who realize that this guy is a dummy and they need to get him gone. But AC, we're gonna move on to the next story. A huge bombshell came out earlier this week. Susie Wiles, the White House chief of staff, many people look at her as kind of like the shadow president. Obviously, we've called Stephen Miller the shadow president. I look at Miller as the shadow president in that he gets Donald Trump charged up to say all this crazy shit. And also, Donald Trump is giving him a large bit of power when it comes to the immigration policy. And not only that, he will send Stephen Miller out there to defend a lot of his worst policies. But Susie Wiles is without a doubt, she has always been the heart and the blood behind the Trump administration and MAGA, going all the way back to the 2024 elections. She's the one who got this MAGA media coalition with Tim Pool and the podcast bros, Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan. She got them all on the same page. She told Donald Trump to run again after he was slightly had his confidence shaken in 2023. She got him into the White House, and she's one of these type of figures. She's really like a shadow. Like she is really just in the background. They tried to give her the mic at on election night and she refused. But she is one of these people that really runs the White House. And hold on, let me find right here. I think this is, yeah, it says right here to begin the article. It says Wiles told me about Trump's oh no, excuse me, that's not it. That's not it. Where is it? Where is it? Hold on. Oh, here it is. As she related it later, President Donald Trump was holding forth on the filibuster when Wiles stood up and started for the door. Trump eyed her and he said, "Is this an emergency that you have to leave?" He demanded. It was nothing of the sort. But Wiles left Trump guessing. She then turned and replied, "It's an emergency. It doesn't involve you." With that, according to Wiles, she departed the Oval. So, and Wiles told that reporter that so he can get an idea of the type of sway she has. We then also go on to see Wiles describe Trump at she says he has an alcoholic's personality and even went on to compare him to her father, who was an alcoholic. She then says Vance's conversion from Trumper to MAGA acolyte was sort of political and that he's been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. And then she goes on to call Elon Musk an avowed ketamine user. And she says that when he makes these posts about Hitler and Stalin and Mao, that he's probably microdosing. And she goes on and on here. She talks about Pam Bondi. She says, "I think Pam completely whiffed on appreciating that was the very targeted group that cared about this. First, she gave them binders full of nothingness, and then she said that the witness list or the client list was on her desk. There is no client list, and I'm sure, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk." Then later on, um, where is it? Right? No, that's not it. Here it is. Later on, she goes on to completely undermine the administration's Venezuela strategy. Okay, this whole public stance that this is about drugs and fighting cartels. She completely says that's a lot of crap right here, AC. She says, quote, "He wants to keep blowing up boats until Maduro cries uncle. And people way smarter than me on that say that he will." So right there, she completely puts a knife in the whole Venezuela strategy of it being being to interdict drugs or to stop drugs coming into the United States. Um, I'm gonna come to UAC. I am shocked just for the simple fact that Susie Wiles never talks. In all the months that we've been doing this show, we have not once brought up Susie Wiles. I've obviously been aware of her and the type of power that she holds, but there was no reporting ever on it. Apparently, she sat down with this Vanity Fair reporter over months and just spilled the beans. I'm slightly shocked, but I, I don't know if I should be shocked. I think Susie Wiles, AC, I think she's at the point where the average time a White House chief of staff spends on the job is probably a year and a half. That's about the average amount of time. Bush's chief of staff, I think, lasted 5 years. So I think she's looking around and realizing that all of these people are idiots. Most of them are probably going to be in jail by the end of these 4 years. Let me get the hell up out of here. Let me cut my strings from this sinking ship and move on to something else. Melania got 40 million for a nothing documentary on Netflix. This lady is gonna make buku money with that Netflix documentary that they're gonna pay her for. On top of the fact, AC, she got Ron DeSantis to the Florida governor's mansion in 2018, and then she doubled back with Trump in 2024, winning the presidency. So this lady is a kingmaker. Somebody, some ambitious politician is going to be smart enough to snatch her up for their presidential run very soon. But what's your reaction to potentially the number two to Donald Trump coming out and blasting everybody like this?
Well, I'm still gonna, just on the side note, Stephen Miller and Donald Trump operate in two separate lanes. She does what she does for Donald Trump. Stephen Miller is assigned to do his thing, to bring the cruelty, to bring everything else. That's why I'm trying to let people know, and the people that I talk to personally, the cruelty aspect of Donald Trump's first administration and this one, we're now 5 years into this cruelty. Donald Trump doesn't have that type of cruelty in his system. This is why, it seemed as though he was going to make this turn when it came down to Ukraine and other things when he actually saw the video. You know what I'm saying? So this lady is the lady that's making sure that those executive orders are signed. She's the one who keeps him focused to whereas what the millionaires and
Reportedly, she's also the one that forced him to go on TV and do that disastrous speech. Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is her task is to always try to put him in the light of looking presidential. Sign your executive orders, run your thing the way you want to, and I'll organize all of those moving pieces, and I'll bring all the people together, and the interns and whoever else is helping write up these executive orders and things like that, along with the other dude that Donald Trump always calls on to explain the executive orders. So the point I'm making is on that side of it, that's her job, and what she's saying, take that as Bible, because she's in the room with them and she understands how fecklessly incompetent this entire administration is when it comes down to governing. You know what I'm saying? On the opposite side of Miller, on the opposite side of Stephen Miller, you got all the cruelty aspect of it. Miller was behind the separation of the kids in Trump's first term. Miller was behind the Muslim ban and everything like that. So Miller deals with all the cruelty. Miller is the guy that's passing out the orders for ICE and Homeland Security and whatever other agency he can get to go along under the guise of Donald Trump. So that the two are running this weird uh, Trump administration, and Trump is just the guy that's there to say the outrageous stuff, put together the distractions, and sign the executive orders that are all distractions. So she realizes right now that, okay, the iceberg I can see. If they can't see it, then it's on them. But the iceberg I see. Some of these other Republicans in the House and the Senate, they also see the iceberg. So if we want a future that we may have to disappear for a good 5, maybe 8 years to let the political cycle do its thing and the short-term memories of the political cycle do its thing, then we can return in probably 8 years and we'll be behind the next Republican president that's gonna that's gonna run. So that's kind of the way I look at it. She's smart to get out right now. Probably sometime in the future, look for probably her and the Marjorie Taylor Greene to come together. Because I don't know if any like a dude like Thomas Massey, I don't think he'll touch that lady with a 10-foot pole, being that her close proximity is to DeSantis and the Trump. So Massey's gonna be like, no, I'm not even gonna pander to that, because then that's gonna awaken that movement, and we trying to get that out of politics. So that's kind of where I see that. But we, after she goes,
But she,
hear from her.
I don't know, but AC power is an intoxicating thing. And if she, because I could see, because they said that Susie Wiles actually reached out to Trump to run his campaign team after DeSantis dumped her. If she reaches out to Thomas Massey and she says, Republicans are dead right now, but sir, I can get you in the White House. I ain't too sure Thomas Massey is turning that down. I don't give a fuck how close she was to Trump. Excuse my French.
But I think just on that alone, I'm on the side of saying where Thomas Massey is right now, all the momentum he's got for standing 10 toes down on the Epstein files, then he gets his victory and is able to put that huge middle finger into Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Bongino, and everyone else who's trying to cover up that, and he actually gets the discharge thing over the line and stuff like that, which then he beat the Trump administration, he beat Mike Johnson, you know what I'm saying? So where he is on the opposite side, Thomas Massey is now the face of the Republican side of that America First movement. So he's not going to need them to win. He's not going to be trying to pander to the MAGA people or the remnants of MAGA. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not, because we're talking about how power corrupts and how power corrupts completely. So if Massey really wants to go there and, the poll numbers might not be looking good for him up against the Democrat, he might reach out to her and bring her on. You know what I'm saying? He just might. So that's why I'm more or less like really looking at her and probably a Marjorie Taylor Greene. That probably makes more sense to me, to get Marjorie Taylor Greene in a higher position. She may reach out to Marjorie and be like, or Marjorie may reach out to her like, look, after I left, I didn't get the endorsement of this dude. All of this stuff is done. When this is done, I want my fucking Senate seat, and excuse my language. So that's the way I'm thinking they're going to talk, because Marjorie wants her Senate seat. So
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Um, and I think they would be a good team. If Marjorie were to go for a presidential, I don't think she's going to run for Senate. I think the midterms are too close, and I think the way how she decided to bow um out of the House, I'm not too sure that she would be at least welcomed by Georgia voters, at least not right now,
Yeah,
especially with the current climate with Trump, as well as the her own divisions with her own party. So you know, I just don't think people would be too willing to vote for a Republican any goddamn way next year. But um,
that's why
we're
they're
gonna move.
long game. That's what I'm saying. They're playing the long game, 4 to maybe 8 to maybe even 10 years out. Watch all of these people who quit. They're all gonna start to show up after the 2020 after the 2028 elections. So look for a lot of them. If they're gonna make political moves, they may come back during that midterm just to start. Just to start with laying the foundation, and then moving into the 2032 elections. That's probably where you're going to start to see them, expressing their voices and saying, trying to establish themselves. So a couple of election cycles, we know how this political thing runs, man. Especially on the Republican side, all you just need is a little bit of time. All you need is a little bit of time and somebody that's good at the spin, and you can get back in office.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna move on to another topic that came up earlier this week. Well, actually, let me start with this. Donald Trump last week, after the after the two national, or it was the week before last week, after the two national guardmen were, were gunned down in oof, excuse me, were gunned down in the Capitol. Donald Trump then went on a disgusting tirade about Somalians. There is a Somalian welfare fraud case going, widespread welfare fraud case going on currently in Minneapolis for some Somalian immigrants that are defrauding the state when, or some of them haven't even come over to the United States. What happened is some Somalians over in Somalia, they create like accounts, and they create fictional people, and then they get all these welfare benefits, and they use that, and then they take that money and they send it back to Somalia. At least that's the reporting that I've seen on that issue. Um, but it's very unfortunate. He came out, said Somalians are garbage. I don't want them in my country. Um, and to me, earlier you said something, AC. I can't remember what you said, but oh yeah, you said that Donald Trump doesn't have cruelty in him, and that the stuff in the first administration was Stephen Miller. I think that over the years, Donald Trump is a smart individual, and he realized, and he knows exactly who he is. He knows exactly what he does care about, what he doesn't care about. I don't think he cares that much for poor brown people. And you remember in his first term, he like there was that big firestorm because it was reported that he said during a meeting that why do we have to get these people from these s-hole countries? Why can't we get people from Sweden and Denmark? And he came out and he said, "Oh, that's absolutely not true. I'm the least racist person you've ever met in your entire life." And now, almost 8 years later, he's back at it, and he's open with it and brazen. He does not care at all whatsoever. And then you see in the title of this article, it said JD Vance, when he said that, was banging the table to encourage him to keep talking that crap. Um, well, what has come from that? He also said during that rant, he also said things about the beautiful Representative Ilhan Omar, a Somalian immigrant, a House Congress representative from Minneapolis. Well, earlier this week, AC, ICE stopped her son, who is a U.S. citizen, and thankfully, the young man had his passport on him, and they sent him on his way. But thinking about what these people's boss has had to say about my mother, and then they walk up on me and they do that whole thing where they surround you and say, "Hey, are you from this country?" What would have happened to this young man if he didn't have that passport?
Nah, it probably got real ugly for him and stuff like that. But my here's my issue. They'll call this what the Somalis are doing or whatever, welfare fraud and stuff like that, but we have large corporations who are involved in welfare fraud. And their involvement is to the tunes of millions and billions of dollars.
You remember that? You remember that welfare $77 million welfare fraud case that happened in Mississippi with Brett Favre?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is stuff that I'm talking about. So it's egregious when someone poor does it, but it's gaining the system to some people when the corporations do it. So for me, it's like either way and either version of it, I don't like it. I'm not gonna sit here and try to condone it or make any excuses of saying, well, you can't look at this because of that. No, they're both wrong. They're both wrong. You know, if you're in a foreign country and you're creating these fake identities so you can steal from this government, and there are hungry kids in this government that actually need that, and their parents, you know, the way the system works now is their parents still may have to wait 45 days before that application is approved or whatever. So that type of thing I'm completely against. When it comes down to what this administration and what basically these people are trying to accomplish.
But AC, and I'll let you keep cooking. But one thing I want to make clear: only about 90 people have been caught in that fraud case, and they're
Yeah,
trying to apply it to 100% of the Somali immigrant community.
and that's what this is what I'm saying. Now, again, it's egregious when someone poor does it, but we should have sympathy for the corporations, for the poor corporations, because they're struggling under regulations. They're struggling under Obama and Biden regulations and things like that. Poor corporations. You know what I'm saying? So if there are 90 people doing that and 100% of corporations doing it over here, where are my sympathies supposed to lie? Because the way I look at it, the two of you are wrong. Whether it's 90, whether it's 10, whether it's 1,000, the
Right.
two are still wrong. So
And the craziest part, AC, is the Somalian immigrant community, particularly out there in Minneapolis, they voted for Trump. Like Trump had record turnouts for Somalians this year. And he turns around and he puts a knife in them. I just want to play this video quickly. This man was one of the main people. He was one of the chiefs out there in Minneapolis, rallying the Somalians, saying that the Democrats left us, so we need to vote for Trump.
What would you say to the president if you were standing here right now?
Mr. President, we campaign for you. We have hope in you. We see hope in you. Please differentiate between good, bad, and evil.
That's a Somali immigrant who voted for President Trump in 2024, but now Trump is demonizing Somalis in America, specifically here in Minnesota.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
I got 5 children. My children are no garbage. I campaigned for the president in 2024. I actually went out and we reached 50 million people endorsing Trump 7 days before the election.
What drew you to the president?
Because we believed he was an agent of chaos. We couldn't afford anything back then. There was a fentanyl crisis. There was an issue of affordability. The living standards went down. Crime issues. These are 5 very important things to us. And we believe that Trump would be the solution to it. I've been a Republican for over 25 years. I'm not going to stop being a Republican. But what I do know is for a fact is we're getting killed out here because people are saying, we told you so.
Yeah, we told you so, you dummy. It
just brings warm cocoa to my soul. Like playing that clip of the "I will vote for Donald Trump" lady, and then that clip that the other time we were watching the Arkansas farmers try to pray the tariffs away. The bootstrap boys, as I like to call them. All of these people are getting their comeuppance. All of you people, this man talking about, we voted for him because he was an agent of chaos. We thought he would bring change. Yeah, he's gonna bring change. He's gonna change your address back to Somalia. Okay, you heard what that man said. You're garbage to him. Your children are garbage to him.
When and if they can get their citizens' birthright bill across the Supreme Court's desk and see whatever turns out from that. If it turns out in that man's favor, then guess who are some of the first people to go?
The garbage.
You dudes spent your lives to come over here. You're looking for your political freedom, and you join the party that has nothing to do with any of the goals that you originally set for yourself when you came here. Because you mentioned crime. You're in freaking Minnesota, bruh. What crimes are you really facing? You're talking about immigration. You
What you do got to remember, post 2020 with the George Floyd riots, like there was still a lot of issues with policing up there, and the mayor of Minneapolis, people felt he was being too soft.
So the issue is, you can feel that way, but what was the actual numbers, and who was the president in charge when George Floyd passed?
Great point.
Here's the deal. You forgot the first administration, because that was Donald Trump. When Donald Trump came into office, guess what happened? Crime spiked going back upwards. Under Obama, crime was going down. Trump, your first time in office, it had a spike that went up, and then that spike doubled during COVID. Joe Biden was the one that brought crime down. So, bro, you are horribly misinformed because you watch too much Fox News, too much OAN, too much of those Fox Minnesota type channels, that they are told, you don't say what's on this list, you're fired. So when it comes down to it, that guy that you said was the agent of chaos who was going to bring down crime, he was the president when George Floyd died. He was the president of the time you're talking about. So how do you blame someone else when it was your guy who was in office? When it was your guy who made these situations tough for you? You know what I'm saying? You could have been a Somali Muslim And guess what?
But you heard what he said, AZ. He said, I've been a Republican for 25 years. So he had a certain belief that Republicans would be better for, because you know that bullshit they like to say, oh, Republicans are better for the economy. And that lie they like to say, oh, the millionaires are running to Miami. I actually looked at the information. New York has produced twice the amount of millionaires since 2010 than Miami has. Okay, so millionaires are not leaving in droves, but this individual right here, I mean, like the coonery that you see from these colored people from other countries is outrageous. Like it's just outrageous.
You can't begin to you can't begin to understand why you would come from over there, from a place like Somalia, and then land your plane here in the USA, and then say, you know what? I want to become a Republican. I want to vote Republican. I want to vote for George Bush. I want to vote for the Bush family. So you go back 25 years, that's kind of who you're looking at. It's kind of who you're looking at. So if I'm going to look at you, if I'm going to look at you and look at you and say, you're from where? And you got here 25 years ago? Okay, so 25 years ago, what was going on? It was the Americans over in Somalia trying to get rid of the gangs. And that's why you fled, right? Because the Somalian gangs. What's
Black
that
Hawk
movie?
Down.
What's that movie that was a
Black
hit?
Hawk Down.
Black Hawk Down? That was, which one of them was you? Was you the little kid or was you the cab driver with the X on the top of his car? Who were you? Because you came over here and you decided to join the Republican Party. And it was a Republican who sent those Americans over there. How did that work out for you? It made it 50 times worse because they had to get out of Dodge because they couldn't beat the Somali rebels. So they packed up, left it all in shambles, and left you guys to deal with what they couldn't deal with because they were claiming we don't want boots on the ground. We don't want to be involved in the never-ending war. The regime change in Somalia is just not going to happen. And now you come over here and you back again another Republican. What kind of cognitive dissonance you dudes is going through? Like, how could you see that and then say, yeah, I'm going to become a Republican? When those Republicans that was there 25 years ago, when you decided to pack your stuff and leave, they were the ones who destroyed your country. So
Yep.
I'm just
Somalia got
like,
no infrastructure. They fields gone through droughts. I mean, they got no education over there. One
famine.
half of the country is controlled by Al Shabaab, which is a sect of Al Qaeda, and they are pushing up on Mogadishu. I think a couple months ago, they actually had the capital Mogadishu surrounded, and they were sieging it.
Yep.
And then now, Trump is saying that they're going to begin putting or no, it wasn't Trump, but I remember it was back in like May. Somebody, a spokesman for the Defense Department, was saying that they were going to be putting boots on the ground in Somalia to try and push back Al Shabaab. So I mean, I don't really get the Somalian. I really don't get the Somali. The only thing I can say is they are just like Cubans. They try to differentiate themselves from American blacks. They try to say those people are just of another ethnicity. We don't really fuck with them. We don't got their history. So they're not us. We could be Republicans. We don't have to fear them. I mean, those blacks are just idiots. I think that's what was going through his head when he made the decision to vote for Donald Trump. Um, but we're gonna pray for these Somalians, and we're gonna obviously pray for Ilhan Omar and her family that they remain safe with all the nasty and disgusting vitriol coming from this president. AC, final topic of the show. Yesterday, or it might have been the day before yesterday. Yes, Donald Trump came out and announced that he would begin blockading Venezuela, which is a huge escalation because that essentially means that they would not be allowing any merchant vessels or cargo containers or oil tankers to come out of Venezuela. After Trump came out and made that threat, Maduro came out and ordered the Venezuelan Navy to begin escorting its oil ships and its merchant ships. So essentially, Maduro heard Trump say that crap, and you know what Maduro did, AC?
Hey!
That's what Maduro went and did. He pulled a, they call that pulling a big dick move. You know what I'm saying? Put his meat on the table and told Trump do something. So I'm surprised. Maduro has decided to make the move to escalate further and tell Trump to do something about it. So now, if Donald Trump wants to take these oil vessels, he will have to strike the Venezuelan boats, and that will be an act of war, which would have required Congress and would be illegal. So, what's your reaction to that, AC? What's your reaction to the big dick move from Maduro?
Hey! I'm actually like, yeah, this is what you were supposed to do. Once they escalated it to, going after your oil tankers and stuff like that, then just escalate it. We've been kind of saying, listen, all of South America, come together, form your coalition now. Start to protect yourself now. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you go ahead and do that, by the time the next administration comes in, they'll look at you and try to work a deal with you to make sure this type of stuff never happens again. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I think for some of these deals, if you're the dictator and you're a person like Maduro and stuff like that, they'll make the deal, but you got to go. They'll say, no, we're not going to lock you up. We're not going to do none of that. Just step down, let someone decent get in office. Let's try to fix our country. Because if we don't, our country can be taken. So they're all in a place. And whether it's all, predicated on protecting yourself against this country, I have no issues with it. I definitely don't, because you should be. I think Americans should start protecting themselves against their own country, because we're not going to tolerate, some of this other weird stuff that they're trying to push in these weird little laws that they're trying to get pushed through Congress and maybe try to come in some weird executive order while they keep distracting us with everything else. So with that being said, Maduro, you doing exactly what you should be doing. I don't agree with you. I don't agree on how you got into power and things like that. I don't agree on half the things you're doing to your own people. But those innocent people that are there, those innocent kids that are there, those hardworking people that are there, those 80 fishermen, and I'm not going to say, well, I don't know. I'm just going to call them 80 fishermen. If y'all going to call them 80 drug dealers, I'm going to call them 80 fishermen. Those 80 fishermen that lost their lives because of this administration, and then we seen the photos of their family members. Like, look, When you go fishing, you go between 3 and like 6 in the morning, so you can get your fish to the market. So it's always, the sun is not up. So this is what we do. This is how fishermen do it. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you're blowing up fishing boats. You're unaliving people, and this is not the first strike, not the second strike, not the third time. You did this to whereas you double tapped many different missions. So they have a right to do what they're doing. I don't agree with what you've done prior to that, but I do agree that you have a right to protect yourself, and these are innocent people. There is no link to say Maduro sent these people out. So that's where I am on that, and I don't like what this country is doing, and I'll just leave it at that, because that's like nah.
I agree 1000%. You already know that, AC. I think it's a shame what's going on down there, and I don't think it makes anybody safer. I think if you're a Venezuelan, and I said it earlier, I pray that Puerto Rico and the United States Virgin Islands are not targets. I pray that our fishermen and our merchant shippers and our tourists who are down there in Trinidad are not targets. But this administration doing what they doing, they're making people targets. And it's even more concerning in the fact that on one hand, they don't want to call it a war. They want to say that it's an anti-drug operation. And then on the other hand, they do want to say it's a war so that they can continue using the Navy to kill people. Thomas Massey came out well, Thomas Massey and a lot of others have made statements on this, but this needs to be a conversation that's had in Congress. It needs to be discussed by everybody. And if Donald Trump wants to go to war, then let's vote on a declaration of war after we've had debate. But I just want to play Thomas Massey, the potential future president of the United States of America. He has some words for Donald Trump and the military here.
Recognized for 3 minutes. Mr. Speaker, James Madison warned us that in no part of the Constitution is more wisdom to be found than in the clause which confides the question of war and peace to the legislature and not the executive. Madison called it the crown jewel of Congress. The framers understood a simple truth. To the extent that war-making power devolves to one person, liberty dissolves. If the president believes military action against Venezuela is justified and needed, he should make the case and Congress should vote before American lives and treasure are spent on regime change in South America. Let's be honest about likely outcomes. Do we truly believe that Nicolas Maduro will be replaced by a modern-day George Washington? How did that work out? In Cuba, Libya, Iraq, or Syria, previous presidents told us to go to war over WMDs, weapons of mass destruction that did not exist. Now it's the same playbook, except we're told that drugs are the WMDs. If it were about drugs, we'd bomb Mexico or China or Colombia, and the president would not have pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez. This is about oil and regime change. And when it comes to regime change, we've already been down this road with Venezuela with nothing to show for it. In 2019, we recognized Juan Guaido. We seized their embassy here in D.C. We were told that regime change was imminent. Years later, Maduro remains in power. Today, we're told to place our hopes in other exiled figures. Edmundo Gonzalez and Maria Corina Machado. I wish them well, I do. But Congress should not express moral sympathy in the form of a blank check for military escalation and American lives. And let's take a moment to acknowledge the contradiction at the heart of this policy. This administration tells us that the Maduro regime is made up of narco-terrorists, and by escalating toward war, we would predictably create countless refugees. At the same time, this administration has moved to end temporary protected status for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans and deports them back to the very regime it condemns. So which is it? Are we prepared to receive swarms of the 25 million Venezuelans who will likely become refugees, and billions in American treasure that will be used to destroy and then inevitably rebuild that nation? Do we want a miniature Afghanistan in the Western Hemisphere? If that cost is acceptable to this Congress, then we should vote on it as a voice of the people and in accordance with our Constitution. And yet today, here we aren't even voting on whether to declare war or authorize the use of military force. All we're voting on is a war powers resolution that strengthens the fabric of our republic by reasserting the plain and simple language in the Constitution that Congress must decide questions of war. I urge support for this resolution, and I yield back.
Yeah, this guy right here, he's gonna have some serious juice in 24. Marjorie might be his vice president, but you heard it right there. He completely separates himself from all past Republican administrations. He completely separates himself from Afghanistan and Iraq. He takes a complete dump on the administration's immigration policy. He mentions the fact that they pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who flooded the United States with drugs. Really, he is the anti-Trump Republican that will probably take over this country in 2028 if the Democrats cannot find a counter to him. But so the question of Venezuela, prayers for the people down there, man. Prayers for the people, because we have some very ignorant and stupid people in power right now. And unfortunately, the defense contractors need to be paid. And the best testing ground for new war machinery is real targets. So if Venezuela, if that war can get kicked up, I mean, that's just more money for their pockets, and they get better tests, and they get better test dummies. They get to test it out on real soldiers and see how does this how can drones help improve the swiftness of seizing an airfield, or how can we use these drones instead of surveillance planes to gather information from the air. Prayers for these people, man, because you got some wicked, wicked, evil ass people, and one of them, unfortunately, is Elon Musk. We already know Elon is getting 15 billion in defense contracts. So he's probably one of the people who's happiest about this war that's probably going to happen without congressional approval.
Yeah, and that's just all part of the American war machine. We've given up the leadership role in industry and technology. We've given up our leadership role in space travel and rocket launches and stuff like that to become a corporation and military industrial complex. So when you talk about how a wealth gap is created, how the middle class is just gone, this is what you're left with. If you remove the middle class, then it makes it easier to have young people, instead of doing a draft, they just go into the military and things like that on their own, because these are what's known as the stable jobs. After you do your tours and things like that, the way the government's supposed to take care of you and the advantages you get if you make it through that whole thing alive is and unscathed and things like that is, now you get a home, you get to get married, you know what I'm saying, you get some tax breaks, some credit, and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. So this is what you're creating. This is the hedge on understanding workforce versus the military workforce versus the workforce versus the industrial complex workforce. You're going to have those nonviolent people that are still going to go to college, and they're going to look and say, well, the only thing that's left is robotic and in the tech industry. That's why the tech industry is the most lucrative industry in this country right now. So when you look at how they're plotting these wars, you're understanding the future. You're understanding where police departments and every sort of law enforcement is going to become militarized. We're looking at ICE, we're looking at Homeland Security. They're dressed up like they're boots on the ground in a foreign country, but yet they're here. They're going into cities propelling out of helicopters like this was a scene out of Black Hawk Down when we saw the helicopters pull up and the dudes were just propelling out of the helicopters and stuff like that. Boots on the ground, long guns. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at what they're trying to do. And I'm saying it like this. You're playing soldier because your leader is not going to make it. You're playing soldier because the second in command is a clown. You know what I'm saying? So your plan A and your plan B actually suck. So we're just looking at all of this posturing and these displays and stuff like that, because once all of this is done, nobody in this administration, including the guy that the Supreme Court is going to try to say is X, Y, and Z, no one is safe from the legal ramifications of this, because you can pardon or say the president, whatever, but the rest of the world don't give a shit about, and excuse my language, don't care about, you know, a Supreme Court ruling that no, I can't be this and I can't be that. Let you get out of the country for a second. You will be prosecuted for humanitarian crimes, war criminal crimes.
To aircraft carrier in the chat, aircraft carrier is wondering why I'm defending. I think he's just being funny, but nah, like you don't fix a country with regime change wars. Not unless that country is not even if that country is is not favorable towards that dictator or to whoever's in power. Like that should be something that a regime change should be something that is organic, that happens within the country, that the people support, and that they have their own coalitions that they back. Like what you have going on right now in Myanmar, AC, they had a military junta, or where a dictator just came in and he had a coup. He tore up the constitution and he said, "You're now under military dictatorship." And Gen Z, kids that are 20 years old, they went, they picked up guns, and 2 years later, they are a well-oiled military force. And they got different factions over there. And they're united behind one coalition of creating a federal democracy. That's how regime change is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Myanmar, they're going, and that dictator, his days are numbered, because they have lost the war and they lose in territory and cities day by friggin' day. That's how you affect regime change within your country. You don't. The United States doesn't come in and bomb the hell out of people and
No.
kill a bunch of civilians and then go in and hang Maduro.
When you
You're
look at
just gonna. Yeah, but let me just say this: what you're gonna happen is the same thing that happened in Iraq and Libya. You're just going to create an even more corrupt system. And when we left Iraq, we created a whole new problem, because now you had ISIS to deal with. And then we had to double back and help the Iraqi government that we put in place get rid of ISIS after they taken multiple cities. So no, like regime change is not how the fuck we do this.
no,
And
see,
not only that, it's immoral. Like it goes against everything that we say we are as Americans. So I'm not for it. I'm not for it at all.
when you look at regime change that actually worked in America's favor, The only thing America did was send a small group of elite fighters to help train people. We get caught. We do the same thing that
Bay of Pigs.
Russia, China, and other places do, to whereas we infiltrate your social media and stuff like that, and we identify who are the voices of the opposition of the regime change we want to continue, and then we start to support them and
Who
back them.
just won the Nobel Peace Prize, AC?
Exactly. So the point is, when you look at it like that, it's supposed to be done strategically. Yeah, the America will still leave its fingerprint somewhere in between the regime change. You know what I'm saying? Because then we'll come out and we'll make statements like these are our, this person is our ally and we should get behind this person and support this person. And you see the propaganda behind the regime change. When you go in there, just like we were talking about earlier with Somalia, and you put the military involved in it, what you wind up creating is generational hate. You create the next generations of possible terrorists. You create the generation of people when Americans go there, they want to kidnap them, hold them for ransom, or whatever else they plan on doing. But the point I'm making is regime change is something that happens quietly and slowly. And if
Or you create failed states,
exactly, and where
like
you
with Libya and Somalia. So imagine now we're gonna have some Venezuelan pirates in the Caribbean and in the Gulf
yeah,
because they're a failed fucking state with no health care, no education system, so no hope for better jobs in the future, and you've taken all their fucking oil. What do you
so
think happens then, aircraft carrier?
so what you wind up doing is you take a couple of elite snipers, and these elite snipers start picking off certain leaders, to whereas you only left with the guy standing who's the actual opposition. You tell him the next bullet is for you if you don't allow this election to go down. So he has no choice to allow the election to go down. You lose the election, you get up out of there. You know, they send you to some sort of regime change country club type stuff.
Re-education
Efforts
camp.
that-
That's what we
yeah,
call them.
in the efforts that you just never show your face again, and you may be able to take your money, take a couple of chicks you had with you, and stuff like that. But you just got to live the rest of your days quietly. You know, they may put you somewhere down where most of these dudes go, somewhere weird in Argentina.
There
So
was an anime. You've probably heard of it. It's called Hunter x Hunter.
yeah,
Um,
hmm
yeah, you remember the Ant King arc with Rodrigo?
yeah,
Well, Rodrigo, that was the dictator of that country where the ants started, where essentially where they started, and I think he was the first person to get one of the first people to get killed off by the ant people. And then it was later revealed at the end of the arc, after all that craziness, that the real Rodrigo was had his feet up at, living on a farm with his dog writing poetry. Like he got the F up out of there. Like that's what all the like that. I think that's what happened to Trump. I think Trump got as much money as he could within the first 4 months. And this thing that we got in front of us now is a clone Trump. It's like a sloppy, excuse me, stupider. I don't think the brain came out too good in the copying machine. And I think that's what we stuck with right now. I think Donald Trump is probably in Argentina or Saudi Arabia living his best life.
well, they said it about Joe, so hey, listen, I ain't gonna put it past him. What's good for one is good for the other.
Absolutely, absolutely. But hey, see, my brother, you got anything else before we shut it down?
No, just people just stay aware. Always ask yourself, how did we get here? And just stay up, protect yourself. and things like that, because the fight is eventually going to come to our door. If they get some of the sneaky stuff that they're trying to do, the fight will definitely be at our doors. And just be ready. Enough of the crybaby stuff. Enough of the cowardness, and things like that. If you're not ready to fight for your democracy, then you've already lost your democracy. And that's where I'll end it. Tune into the next episode of Democracy 101. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know how you feel about the content, whether you agree or disagree. And that's where I'll end it.
Yeah, and I'll just say to Carrier in the chat that you should not be with your country, right or wrong. You should not be with your country when they are wrong. Like, we have done some really, really terrible stuff in our history that does not deserve to be patted on the back by us, the citizenry. Like, we've been involved in genocides. We've been involved in the Unit 731 experiments, which, if you don't know what those are, go look it up. We gave all those people immunity so that they could testify as to what the test results they found after they experimented on people without anesthesia, and were putting 2 day old babies. Like, they would take the babies and stick their hands in cold water to see what hypothermia does to them. So, like, nah, you should not stand with your country, right or wrong. That's the whole point and reason why you have a First Amendment, so you can let your country know when they are wrong. But prayers for the people in Venezuela. Prayers for those people in Australia as well as their families. We got to stay vigilant. We got to stay together. Like AC said, you have to be ready to defend yourself and your rights. Aircraft carrier, I would just encourage you to, read up on your pocket constitution so that you can know how to defend yourself, especially with that Second Amendment when it comes to federal authorities illegally entering your home or trying to illegally restrict your freedom of movement. So please stay vigilant, stay armed, and stay educated on what your rights are. Thank you once again for coming through, people. Merry Christmas. The final week before Christmas. I don't know if I'll do a live before the 25th next week, but I always have fun. I'll let y'all know if I will. I'ma leave y'all listening to the tunes of Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Nights. Demi John. Take it easy.
My true love gave to me. I did me Jana guava berry. That day of Christmas, my woman gave to me 2 cruise and rum, and I did me Jana guava berry. On the 3rd day of Christmas, my woman gave to me
You son of a bitch! You no good damn son of a bitch! You lied to me! You told me this was like... Shut your damn... I'll get you!